Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Robin's Roundup. I'm Sean Watts.
And I'm George Smith.
Today we're joined by the sports editor of Gloucestershire Live, Jon Palmer.
Afternoon.
And we're going to be talking about the FA Cup last weekend. We're going to have some ticket and commercial information for you. We're going to be talking about our recent form, and we've got some exclusive interviews with Russell Milton and Harry Pell. So let's talk about the FA Cup last weekend. John, it didn't really go to plan, did it?
No, the last thing you want to do when you're in a bit of a wobbly form in the league is go to a team from the league below away. And it was a really tricky tie. Everyone knew it was going to be a tricky tie. First half, I thought Cheltenham were much better, and I didn't think Sutton offered very much. And at half-time, 1-0 up, I texted John Finnegan and said, this is going to be, comfortable passage through to the next round. But I tempted fate, and they were a lot better in the second half. But the 34-second goal obviously ruined Cheltenham's half-time team talk, which was probably keep things tight. And you have to say, based on the second half, Sutton probably deserved to go through but the manner of the defeat with the 96th minute goal, that was a bit of a sickener. But Sutton deserved it overall. I don't think Cheltenham can have any complaints.
It looked like we were going to hold on for a draw and take them back to the LCI Rail Stadium, and that would have been good, but it just didn't happen, did it?
No, I think in the last 10 minutes, Sutton's looked like they were starting to tire. I certainly thought we were going to get the win, if anything. And then sort of out of nowhere, Sutton just popped up with a goal, and the celebrations afterwards were pretty memorable. It's just one of those days, I think. I don't think either team deserved to win, in my opinion, but it might be slightly biased. But I don't know about you, John. I thought a draw would have been a fair result.
Yeah, just before the winner, Cheltenham had one cleared, hit the bar, didn't they? Dickey hit the bar, one tipped over the bar, a couple of free kicks on the edge of the box. So I thought if one team were going to win it, Cheltenham were, even though Sutton had probably had the best of the second half overall, and then they obviously scored right at the end. But the one thing Gary Johnson hasn't managed to do yet is have a cup run, but nobody would care if we have a good season all round, which we did last year when we went out to Hartlepool. Obviously everyone was disappointed with that, but the team responded really well. So sometimes cup runs lead to good seasons. Sometimes you don't need to have a cup run to have a good season. There's examples of both. In Cheltenham have got to the third round and been relegated before, so I think it's more, the league's much more important. As nice as it would have been to have a cup run, still got the Checker Trade to look forward to.
Well, we've got our league to focus on now, and of course the famous Checker Trade trophy, and we'll be talking about it in a minute. But first, here's James from the commercial team to give us some ticket information.
Cheers, guys. Tickets are now available for games over the Christmas period, as well as travel club tickets available for Morecambe away and Colchester on January the 2nd. For more information, please visit www.ctfc.com/tickets.
This week, we are offering one lucky listener the chance to meet their heroes in our first ever podcast competition. The winning fan will have behind-the-scenes access before the game against Exeter on Saturday, and will meet the players and staff in their home dressing room. You will also receive a signed matchday programme and get your photo taken with your favourite player. To enter, simply email me via george.smith@ctfc.com using the subject line podcast competition, and let me know which player you'd like to get a professional photograph taken with on the side of the pitch. Full terms and conditions can be found in the website article containing this podcast. Good luck.
Well, now we're going to talk about our recent form. Obviously, it's not been great. So, George, how do we turn it around?
That's a good question. I say it's been a strange few weeks from the highs of the Crew Cup replay, where we played unbelievably well, probably the best performance under Gary, to 7 days later, the game against Colchester. I can't say too much about that. There's not much positive spin I can put on that. And then obviously the cup defeat this Saturday. It's been a very strange couple of weeks. I don't know about you, John. After that Portsmouth display, where we could have won against a very strong team, I didn't see that week coming. Did you?
No, I don't think anyone saw it coming. I don't think anyone saw this season coming, really, in terms of the league position at this stage. I don't think anyone considered it would be a struggle, but it's the first time Gary Johnson's been under any real pressure in this job. When he came in towards the end of 2 seasons ago, it wasn't his squad. Nobody expected him to keep Cheltenham up. But now massive things are expected of him. It's the first time he's actually had to turn around a difficult situation, and we're going to find out a bit about him. He's not under serious pressure in terms of there's no hint of him losing his job or anything like that after what he's done. But we're going to learn a bit about him in a difficult situation now. Can he turn it around, and what skills has he got to do that?
Absolutely. And George, it's not quite. We're not near panic time yet. We're not even in January. We've not even got past Christmas yet. So, as I said, it's not panic time yet, is it?
No, definitely not. I think if you look at the league table, it's all still very tight. 2-3 wins on the trot, and we're back up mid-table. Everybody's happy again. We beat Leicester in the Checker Trade Trophy, and people start dreaming of Wembley. I mean, it could be a great few weeks. I know people like to be dramatic on social media and stuff, and that's fine. But I think we all just got to stay calm. Look at the league. We're not doomed yet. We're not in a relegation. Well, we are in a relegation battle, but there's still plenty of opportunities for us to climb the league. So let's stay calm.
What do you think needs to be done after Christmas, John?
Well, I don't think that many of last season's regulars have consistently struggled this season. I think some of them have had ups and downs, but I think, let's look at, for example, Danny Wright. He was brilliant last season. He's been up and down this season. He scored 5, but there's been games where he's been completely out of the game. What Gary Johnson hasn't got at the moment is he can't change it. I don't think there's anybody really that didn't deserve to be kept on from last season. They all earned that extra chance, but I think there's not been that depth. So if Gary wants to change a game, there's more pressure on Wrighty because there's nobody else really can go and play as a target man. I don't think anybody has been really poor consistently. Obviously, they've had ups and downs, but I think it's the players that Gary has in reserve, or the players that provide competition, the players that can really make people like Danny Wright fight for his place. That's going to be the key. So he does need to get it right in January, but he got it right last summer completely. He's not going to get them all right, but he's got to get more right than he gets wrong in January.
Absolutely. Well, some reassuring words there from George and John, and now we've got Russell Milton talking about the Exeter game this weekend and what he can do as a coach to turn things around.
So Russ, the last 3 games obviously haven't been perfect from our point of view, but this Saturday presents a real good chance to turn things around.
Yeah, well, they haven't. No, they've probably surprised a lot of people really with what we were doing before. We were going well, but you're not going to go through a season with everything running smoothly. We know that. It even happened last year when obviously winning the league. So we had our moments. So it's just getting a reaction from the boys really, and getting them back onto it, what they were doing well, and making them realise what game is needed again. And Saturday, yeah, like you said, is a very very good game to start that year.
From a coach's point of view, do you have to do anything differently from when you're doing badly from when you're doing well?
Just look at the things you're not quite doing as well as we were, and try and brush up on them, both on the pitch and in the classroom with the video work and stuff, and one-to-ones, group work, and just keep reminding them what they've been doing well for the last 18 months, really.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Russ.
Cheers, George.
Thanks, Russ. Well, now we've got James back again just to talk a little bit about more commercial stuff.
Cheers, guys. We've got hospitality availability for games against Barnet on Boxing Day and Wycombe Wanderers on the 30th of December, details of which will be put on our website within the next few days. For all hospitality inquiries, please contact John Finnegan on 01242 588 107.
Thanks, James. Well, now it's time for our second exclusive interview, and this time George went down to the training ground to talk to Harry Pell.
So Pell, it goes without saying that the last 3 games haven't been what we've been looking for. How keen are you to put things right on Saturday?
Yeah, it's obviously no hiding places at the moment that we're going through a bit of a bad time, but I have faith in the players, and obviously all we can do is work hard on the training pitch to put it right.
How does your role differ at the training ground? Obviously you're a bit of a lively character, always centre of all the jokes and stuff. Do you have to tone that down a bit when you're in a bad run?
Well, obviously you can't get... I've always been told to never get too high with the highs and too lows with the lows, so it is a little bit of a different environment this week especially, but yeah, no, you come into... We're lucky to be where we are with footballers, and you do naturally enjoy it, but obviously we know that results is what the game's based on, and we need to be picking up some results now. Everyone, I think, everyone knows how important this game is. It's a 6-pointer, but obviously we all understood how important the Sutton game was, and unfortunately that didn't go to plan. So we're going to work tirelessly on the training pitch to put it right, and really as a player, that's why I can say that we are doing everything that we can to try and put it right.
And just finally, on Sunday you went to the Junior Robins Christmas party with your daughter. How did you find that event?
Yeah, no, it was good. Obviously seeing all the children and the mums and dads there, we had a little few questions and that, and we got to meet Father Christmas and that. It was really good, and the kids looked like they loved it, so my daughter as well, she loved it as well, so it was good do, and very good to see smiles on faces.
Well, thanks for that, Pelly. So now we'll move on to the Exeter game this weekend. George, it's quite a big match for us, isn't it?
It is, yeah. At home against a team at the lower end of the table like us, it's a good chance to get 3 points if we can get back to our level of performance we had a few weeks ago.
Absolutely. Well, John, what should we expect from Exeter?
Well, Sutton away was probably the worst type of game to have after those 2 league results. I think Exeter at home, if you're going to be completely honest, is probably one of the ones you pick home against a team that isn't really in great form. Cheltenham had a almost perfect record against Exeter up to recently. They'd won every game they'd ever played against them, so I go into the game thinking Cheltenham can get a decent result, and there's 4 games left before the end of the year, so a lot could change in that time. A couple of good results, and suddenly players that might be looking to be on their way out might suddenly be back in, starting every game during the second half of the season. So there's three of those games are at home. So Morecambe away is going to be tough. So Exeter at home, I think Cheltenham needs to get something out of that game just to alleviate a bit of the pressure. But I think the next 4 games, including Barnet on Boxing Day, and then the last one of the year against Wickham, that could have a massive say on some of the players' futures. And I think some of them could make a name for themselves at league level, which some of them obviously have still got a bit proving to do.
George, it's just a case now of forget about what's happened the last couple of weeks. We've got 4 big games now, and players just need to perform, like Jon said.
Definitely. I mean, last year, whenever we lost, obviously we didn't lose that often, but when we did, they always bounced back well and performed well. So we know that these players have got the character in them to sort of forget about what's just happened and play well. So if they can do that this Saturday, I can't see why we can't win.
Gary and Aaron Downs as well have spoken about the secret weapon that they've got within the camp. What do you think the secret weapons will be to try and turn this thing around? Yeah, well, obviously results haven't been good and the league position's not what anyone wanted, but I've seen no hints of anything bad in terms of the camp being low or everyone blaming each other. I think it's been quite a unified camp, and that's very important. I've seen Cheltenham teams in the past that have been higher up the table than Cheltenham are at the moment, but they've been much less harmonious. So I think this bunch get on well together generally, and they know what it's all about. They know how to get out of a difficult situation, and they were tested at times last season, even though they never had a losing run of games. They had times where they were 9 points behind Forest Green, and they had times where they had little wobbles, and they always came through it. So I think the fact that the camp is still together, and they're always going to try and say the right things, but I think there is still a decent atmosphere in the camp in terms of the unity. Everyone obviously wants the results to change, but I don't see any real panic yet from Gary or the players. George, you know the players and the coaching staff well. I'm sure you can vouch for that as well, can't you?
Definitely. They're all a good group of friends. The banter's always still pretty interesting at the training ground. So there's no, you don't walk into the training ground and feel like this is a team in the relegation zone. It's still a good place to be. They work incredibly hard on the pitch, in the gym and everything like that. So full confidence that we can turn it around.
Well, Jon, thanks very much for joining us. I think the key message from the podcast is it's not panic time yet. We'll see you when we play Exeter at the LCI Rail Stadium on Saturday.